Good afternoon. Welcome back to my Ohio urban garden. I thought I would give you a little update on the strawberries that I said were coming in, as well as some of the other seedlings that are very excitedly pushing through the ground. As we're here on Mother's Day weekend, it's finally time for people who don't want to mess with plastic or anything like that to start putting out their vegetables for the summer. Some people choose to wait till Memorial Day. That can be a little bit late with our short season. So Mother's Day, we should be pretty well past the likelihood of frost, even though last night it dipped down to about 31 degrees, but the forecast says we're looking at night times running in the 50s from now on. So we're at a good place, and people this weekend are planting out their peppers and tomato seedlings and flowers and things like that. And of course, I've already done some planting. In some ways, my garden's going to look behind for a little while because I plant from seeds, but that's okay. So let me show you where we are in the strawberry journey, and I'll give you a quick little update tour on the garden. So here is these are the beds that I set up for the strawberries. These are 8x4 beds, and I got 24 bare roots. This little bit of netting that's kind of pinned to the end with wood and brick, you can see down there. This is to keep the birds and my cat and the squirrels out because they love to dig things up. So you can actually see we've been in the middle of a lot of rain. And now I should only have to start watering again here in the next couple days because the soil is still actually quite moist when you put your finger down because it's been raining nonstop for about a week, and it's only just cleared up yesterday or day before yesterday. I don't know. It all runs together. So anyway, these were strange little alien plants when I put them in. They look dead. They look dry. They look like there's no hope for them, right? But here we already have the beginnings of a really strong strawberry plant. And here's another. And looking down here, there is another. They weren't green at all when I put them in, and they're green now. It's just amazing magic. Here we go. So they're all doing very well. There were 25. I think there were actually 26, even though I paid for 25. So I was able to put 13 in each bed, and they will spread and do well. There's 18 inches between all of the plants, with 9 inches between a plant that's near a border, right? So that gives them room to spread out their runners and to do a really good job. So over time, I'm going to end up putting in hoops here, and I'll attach them to the inside here and put hoops up. That way I can raise the netting just a little bit. It doesn't need to be tall. A low tunnel is sufficient for these beds because strawberry plants don't get really all that tall. But it needs to keep the airflow going, and it needs to keep it from getting like too moist or heavy or have the net push down on it. And I want to keep my cat from walking on it. But for now, this is sufficient for keeping any of the critters from causing a problem in the strawberries. And of course, in the long run, you don't want the birds to eat things, so you do want to have some sort of covering. So I'm super excited about this. Haven't had strawberries in my garden for years. I had them in Virginia and it was amazing, but up here I haven't had time to really plant them in successfully. I do want to show you what I attempted before, and it was a failed attempt. So I was intrigued by all this vertical gardening. Man, I need to weed whack back here. It's like a jungle. Good grief. Okay, so here I thought, oh, vertical gardening. What if I did my own little without buying a green stock and got all creative, right? So I used rabbit wire, and I put in potting soil, and I wrapped it in landscape fabric, and I cut little holes in each spot and thought that I could put the strawberries in here. The weight of the potting soil was too much. So those green stalks don't have the dirt everywhere weighing down on itself. They actually have these mini pots that sort of layer, like it's a tiered approach. In this approach, the weight of the soil was really, really strong, so the ones at the bottom all died. Additionally, I couldn't protect it from the birds very effectively, so they ate a lot of it. It was hard to water without it being waterlogged. It was just not a good solution. So I don't recommend that. You need something that's going to consider what the green stalk already does and have layers and tiers, or just do it flat like that. Because the other thing is, in a frost-prone area like here where we can get like heavy snows, you need to have some way of mulching over the strawberry crown so that it is fine over the winter. And my stuff really, like I got like 1 or 2 strawberries and they all died. It was bad. These are my blackberries. Look at that. I love it. They're doing so well. You can see I've got lots more flowers. So I was afraid I wouldn't get any blackberries this year, but it turns out that I have had an abundance of flowers. So I guess I did all right in the pruning. There's some that aren't. You can see out there, those are not producing anything. So anything that's not producing, I'm gonna tie a little landscape fabric, not landscape fabric, a little, twine to it, so I know what it is, so I can know in the winter time what to cut. Okay, that is actually trimmings. We have so many of them, it's insane. Grapevines and apple trees and all the prunings that we did, plus more things that we're continually cutting off the back, and we're gonna have a whole bunch more. All of our fence line has huckleberry and, not huckleberry, mulberry and honeysuckle. I put those 2 words together. And so I take all that and we're gonna do a combination. We need some ash, so we'll burn some of it. And then other pieces of this, we're just gonna run through our wood chipper and mulch the orchard with it. So let me take you through here. Oh my word, all that rain and now the grass is almost a foot tall. It's crazy. It is definitely time to mow. So I think I told you I was worried about my grapevines and whether or not they would do all right, because we pruned the dickens out of them. But they're actually doing very well. But you can see that they're trying to go this direction, which is what we had a problem with before. And it's just because that's where the afternoon sun is and they want to follow the afternoon sun. So we are going to be putting in cattle panels that they can arch over, and I'll train them to go this direction. That way they come to our yard and not our neighbor's yard. I did get trees. So this is a lapis sweet cherry. I go to Stark Brothers for everything. So this, you can see it's already budding out, which is great. This is a peach tree. It is, unfortunately, I believe, a white peach, which means I wouldn't be able to can it, but I could freeze it. So it's a Carolina Bell peach. You can't even see it. There it is. This one actually had flowers all up and down it that I've taken off, because you don't want it to flower for the first couple of years. You want it to put its strength into the root. This is an apricot. Being so far north in Zone 6B, there aren't a lot of apricots and stuff that'll work, but the Pixicot apricot is supposed to work, and it is a dwarf, so we should be all right from that perspective. And here we have the Buckeye Gala apple dwarf. And I love a good Gala, so I'm excited about that. So here's another thing I'm excited about. Look at this. Can you see? I have so many gorgeous little baby apples on my apple trees, so I am hopeful that I will have a good harvest this year if I can beat the raccoon and the squirrels and the birds to it. Now this is my very happy rhubarb. It's actually heavier than it's ever been in the past, so I haven't gotten a lot off of it in the past. It's like 5 years old, but I think it's been in this spot 3 or 4. I haven't harvested a lot before, and this time I've been harvesting like crazy, and it just keeps sending out new shoots. So I am going to harvest some more. One of the other things I did was chop off the flowers. In the past, it had bolted too early, so this time I just went in there and just cut. Because we have these fluke 80-degree days in the middle of our still don't plant because frost could come time. And so the rhubarb will bolt early. And so in the past, I didn't know I could just cut off the flowers. And this time I did. I cut off the flowers, and I've already got 9 cups of rhubarb in the freezer. These are my onions. I believe I showed you this in a prior video. They are just doing gangbusters. I want to say they're double in size already. Now, I do understand if I want good bulbs, I need to make sure that this is super well fertilized with a balanced fertilizer. And so I do plan on using that black cow, that's why it's sitting there, to just periodically supplement in small amounts, maybe do a dusting when I water, and hopefully that'll work. I also have some homemade fertilizer that I can use. It tends not to be high in nitrogen, and that's probably okay. I think it's going to keep it fairly well balanced. Now, if you saw this before, this is my radishes and turnip bed. The radish really has to come out. I just haven't had a good reason to cook it yet. But I would imagine, yeah, you can kind of sort of see. Can you see that down there? It may be too dark. Well, the radishes are beginning to peek their little head up through the soil. So it's probably time to start pulling them. So these are the radish. This is a turnip. But here's what's cool. I don't think I showed you this. We have volunteers in here, and it just sort of, I just find it amusing. Let's find these fun little volunteers, shall we? Here we go. Look at that. I got myself bush beans from last year. There's some others down in here. Lettuce being kept nice and cool. And I did actually pull some of that and eat it in a salad. And then here we have a pepper plant. I don't know if it's a sweet pepper or a hot pepper, but it just popped right up. I would guess it's not going to do super well. You see how it's purple? I don't know this for a fact, but I do know that when tomatoes don't get enough potassium, they turn purple, and they become potassium deficient if the weather, like if their feet are too cold for too long. And peppers may be similar, I don't know. And this is a volunteer, and it came up during that warm spell that I mentioned we have, and then now, of course, it's probably struggling. So I don't know if peppers are like tomatoes or not, but it's possible. It looks like my arugula is getting ready to bolt, to be honest. We've eaten some of it. Yep, it's beginning to flower. I made a couple of salads, but frankly, I just can't get my family to eat a lot of salads. I planted that for my husband, and he hasn't been out here nibbling on it, so I'll just turn it into fertilizer. The carrots are continuing to grow. Like I said last time, they have struggled because I think the pH is wrong in this little side of the bed. Like there was too much peat moss or something, because this side does better. Like that's the size that the carrots would be if they were all doing equally well. And so I have really good peas there, and then those peas didn't even come up on this side. So I think there's just like a problem with the mix of peat moss. And I was looking at this bed, and I think it's the same thing. So here we have peas that have grown up, doing very well, very green, but the peas back there are not doing as well. And there could be a nutrient difference, but also plants are very susceptible to pH. So if the pH is wrong, they can't absorb the nutrients that are there in the soil. And peas are particular, they do like it to be less acidic. And because I'm doing this homemade mix, if it's not evenly balanced, it is conceivable that I have something that is too acidic for the peas that like to have a more neutral profile. So I'm gonna probably add some black cow to that as well, just to hopefully neutralize that pH just a little bit. These cabbages are at a point where I could probably consider transplanting them. And I have an extra bed back there next to the strawberries that has nothing in it. And I'm planning on probably transplanting them back there because it's going to stay cooler over the summer. And it's just better if the cabbages are in a place that's going to be a little bit cooler, a little more dappled sun, and put my peppers and tomatoes here where we have full blazing sun. So here's some exciting stuff. Let's see if I can get in there. Again, I'm using netting to protect these things from squirrels and my cat. Those are carrots. And I think I could go in there and start thinning soon. I have rows and rows of carrots that have successfully germinated. And I'm super excited about that. So here, as you can see, I've got 3 beds now with carrots, and that's totally on purpose. I succession sowed them so that hopefully I'll have them at different times later on. Looks like I need to water that pot. I have pots in here that have peppers and tomatoes, trying to take advantage of the greenhouse effect that I've made. I put this up during the day and I take it and then I roll it back down at night. I'll probably only use it for another week because the temperatures are heating up, and even just having this over top during the day could make the bed too hot during the day. So it's almost time to get rid of it. So yeah, I gotta water those pots. But what I wanted to show you that I'm super proud of, this is one of the tomatoes that I direct seeded, and it is doing very well. And I have several of them. So I have quite a few that have actually popped up, and that means that I'm gonna be successful in getting tomatoes, because some people don't even put their tomatoes in the ground till Memorial Day, right? And so that's another few weeks. By the time they put theirs in the ground, mine will be as tall as theirs. This over here, I have the cheese pumpkin. Now these are really big and beautiful. They're not quite ready yet to transplant because these are just their initial fake leaves. What is it, cotyledon, or I don't know the word. But these are the real leaves. So you really don't want to transplant anything until you have probably four real leaves, because then it has a root system that can handle disruption. And so I have great success. These cheese pumpkin, I had 4 of them planted and all 4 germinated, which is just a happy day. Whereas over here, where I planted the Armenian cucumber, out of 4, only 3 germinated, and that one looks good and that one does not. So I may have a little trouble with them. We'll see. Now, I had mentioned that I was doing celeriac. My plan is to use this bed to germinate the celeriac and then put in a trellis and have the pumpkins shade it during summer. So that's my hope. But I was like, well, I don't even know if they're going to germinate. I have no idea if it's going to work. And then my niece showed me that I have little itty bitty greens all over the place. Can you see that? Yeah. I have several of them. So it looks like my celeriac may have successfully blossomed. And I am excited about that. Now here's something, when you're thinking about your garden, you want to think about pollinators. I do have perennials like that lavender out there, which does a great job in summer, but you also need things that are going to bloom other times of year. And here I have some calendula, and these are volunteers. They come up every year. I also planted some seeds here. We'll see how they go. Oh, look at this. You see this? Oh, my shadow's in the way. Let me move. Tomato. I get volunteer tomatoes in this bed every single year. And this one is a little purple. It got too cold, which means potassium deficiency. But it volunteered, and I will get cherry tomatoes from that every year. That's how I know I can direct seed. There we have still struggling lavender, but my rosemary's doing well. And I actually pulled out some of my goldenrod here because I saw that this popped up and decided it would be a really good thing to free up space for that echinacea to breathe, because the goldenrod just grows like gangbusters and it'll drown anything out. And I would love to have some more echinacea in this bed, so I kind of let it breathe and weeded it that way. So here's my next update. I'm still working on these. I got grow bags because I want to plant more. Oh, I didn't show you the beans. That's all right. I'll get to that. So in here, I planted zucchini and peas in this one. And you can see the pea is trying to pop up. Zucchinis will be a few more days. So in these grow bags, that one's 50. I have zucchini in there. These two are beets, and those are 20 gallon. That 20 gallon has peas and a tomato, and then those two 10 gallon ones have tomatoes and lemon basil. My hope is that the lemon basil won't be as strong of a scent as the regular basil, because I don't really like that strong scent. And here we have almond. So I was going to plant my almond tree in the front yard, but the spot that I have is fairly close to my neighbor. It's no threat to her tree or to her water or anything like that, because this is a very small tree that'll stay 10 feet or smaller based on how I prune it. But she has family, children, not her children, but extended family that are allergic to tree nuts, and I didn't want to risk any of them like picking up something, cracking it and eating it. It's unlikely, but out of respect for her, I brought it over here and put it in a pot, and we'll just upsize the pot every year as we need to. You can grow an almond tree in a pot. You just got to be careful of the root system. So I might have to bring it inside for the winter or something, or put it in the garage. I'll figure that out. It is already budding, so we're doing pretty well here. And here is part of gardening is being like having ingenuity, right? So here I have my original plan, which was beans in a teepee format, and I do have some of them that have already started to sprout, and you can see those down here. So I want to have enough pole beans to take care of all of my family's green beans for the year, but I don't have 100% germination here. I'm going to give it a little longer. Water it's more and like wait another week, it could happen. We'll see what happens. But it takes forever to try to set this up, and I'm not 100% convinced that it's going to be as sturdy as I want. So, but it just took forever. And so what I did is I said, well, what if, and I can't get quite as many, but I can get 50 from this pole all the way down to the corner based on 3 inches apart. And so I put bird netting in. I'm afraid it's not really strong enough. So I think long term the answer would be welded wire and T-posts, which is that would require me working with my husband to get it all set up, because I can't use the clippers to cut the welded wire, and he can. I can do everything else, but I can't. My hands aren't strong enough to clip the wire. So I used this, and I'm afraid like it would only work if there were just maybe a couple. I have a feeling that we're going to need to come up with a real quick solution long term. I added this yellow because I didn't want my kids trying to run through here, not seeing it because it's black, so it's hard to see. So there's my creative ingenuity at work. And then if we come here, I was so worried when I made the last video that my potatoes weren't going to make it. And then I see this. Oh, there's my stupid shadow again. Let's move so that I can show you what this looks like. There you go. They are doing very well. All along this way, all of my potatoes have come up. And I have continued to shield this in case there are beetles or bugs that I need to be protected from during this time of year. That is experience speaking. So if you can cover up your plants at the beginning of the season, sometimes they will get past that time when the bugs want to eat it. And the bugs, their bug life cycle is such that they'll move on before you have to uncover it in order to allow fruiting or things like that. So that's my quick little update. I do have more things growing, but I won't go through all of them. But I thought I would share because, well, first of all, it's a beautiful time of day. I'm going to go sit down back there and enjoy my garden, So it's a beautiful time of year. Everything's growing and out of control. Weeds are everywhere. Gardens are half done. That's normal. But what's awesome about all of this is that we get to enjoy the beauty of nature. We get to enjoy our time outside. It's fun for family. Get out of the sun. There we go. It's fun for family. It's healthy. It's, a lot of work to put the garden in, but there is something particularly fulfilling about the kind of work, especially as you think about long term. How are you going to preserve it? How are you going to keep it healthy? It's both a hobby and a lifestyle. There's something about gardening, especially at this scale, which is still tiny, but it's not like I just have a pot of tomatoes. I have a lot going. There's something about this that makes you grateful for our food service in the U.S., more admiring of farmers. It makes you, I guess, recognize what a great time we live in. I garden because I think it's healthy to garden and I think it's fun to garden, but I wouldn't have to feed my family. I can go to farmers and I can go to the grocery store. There's so many places that I can go to get food, and food is so plentiful that our country's problem is obesity. It is an amazing time to be alive, and everybody should try to can their own tomato sauce just once, just to see how many tomatoes it takes, just to be in awe at how inexpensive our food actually is. I just really believe that if you spend some time gardening, growing things, working with your hands, not only is it good for your body and soul, but it's good for your attitude and for your perspective. And I don't know, it's been kind of life-changing for me. I really, really enjoy it. I do hope to provide more and more of my own family's needs from my garden. Don't ask me why. Some people can give you really good reasons why, like, they believe the end of the world is coming. They believe in an apocalypse. They believe in problems, but I don't know. I'm pretty optimistic, and I think that we live in a good time with a lot of options available to us. And even when things are hard, beans are still cheap. It's just an amazing, incredible time. I'm not doing what I'm doing out of panic or fear. I don't feel like if I don't do all of this that my family's going to starve. I think they'll eat just fine. But there is something in me that is compelled to do it. I feel like it's part of being a grown-up, that you be able to provide for your own kids and your family, that you can make your own sauerkraut. You don't have to go to the store and buy it in a bag. That you can make your own tomato sauce. You don't have to go to the store and buy Hunt's. You can if you want to, because what they do is amazing, but you're capable of doing it yourself, right? To me, that's kind of what being a grown-up is. It's why I make my own bread. It's why I render my own tallow and lard instead of buying it already done from the farmer. There's just something about that hands-on approach that makes you feel like your life has purpose and meaning and makes you feel like an adult. I don't know if that makes any sense. Maybe you can chime in on your part, but it's just a wonderful time. It's beautiful. And let me just, I guess, add an extra point, because there's so many people out there, so many gardeners and homesteaders and farmers who are talking about, how important it is to stock up your pantry to be prepared, because we never know when there's going to be a recession. And there's some that are speaking very gloom and doom. Not all, but definitely you can come across that. I'm not a gloom and doom person. I want to sort of disagree with that narrative. I don't garden out of fear. I garden out of love. I garden out of joy. And there's wisdom, right? There's a generally accepted principle that you should have 3 to 6 months of expenses in the bank, right? Most Americans don't actually have that yet, and it's probably one of the reasons that we aren't very secure in the case of a health emergency or things like that. So certainly that's something that my husband and I are looking at resolving in our own lives. But on top of that, we are recommended to have 3 to 6 months of food supplies. Now, that's not typically financial advice recommendation. I don't mean it's like a recommendation. I mean it would be wisdom. So if Dave Ramsey says have 3 months of your expenses in the bank, I think it's wise for us to say, and have 3 months of beans in the cupboard, right? If you eat beans. If you don't eat beans, that's pointless. But have 3 months of your family's food. Be able to shop out of the pantry. I can't tell you how many radio shows and blogs that I've read, listened to, where somebody said, well, my husband's been out of a job for 90 days and I don't have a job and we've just been trying to make things work. And they're like, well, how are you eating? Well, I had a stocked pantry and we've just been eating out of the pantry. That's why you do it. So you just make sure that you put things in there that you always eat, not things that feel like starvation foods to you, but just things you eat. If you want canned peaches, have canned peaches. And put them in date order so that the most, the oldest ones are in the back and the newest ones, I said that backwards. The oldest ones are in the front, the newest ones are in the back, so that you use them so they don't expire. And what I do is every time I go to the grocery store to buy bread or milk, or actually I never buy bread. Let me rephrase that. Whenever I go to the grocery store to buy my kids Frosted Flakes, because they don't want to eat oatmeal, I pick up an extra couple of cans of tomato sauce and green beans. If I use a can of corn, I replace a can of corn and maybe buy an extra one, so that I don't yet have 3 to 6 months of food in my cupboard, but that's my goal. Just like I want 3 to 6 months expenses in my bank account. I am so sorry about that noise. I guess that's the sign that I need to stop. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that you are gardening for joy and loving this wonderful outside weather. Talk to you soon.